Alrighty, so on this side here, I kept getting my boxes ready, so I framed it all in all the way around with a reveal so the doors can actually go over that and help keep any water and seal them. Plus the doors are going to sit inside that tube so that it has a little bit of protection. So and then I took and filled this back corner in with piece 16 gauge, weld that in there to fill that in, and I countersunk it in because in this area here I'm going to end up creating hinge points. I want to do a tire carrier for when I go camping and I need to take a tire out of the bed. So you can kind of see on the inside here how I box them in. I just kind of stitch weld them in there, and then I'll seam seal it all instead of welding it all fully. So then next is to make the doors. So what I did for that is I just got this ram board, like a big roll of it from Home Depot, and then just roll it out flat, put heavy weights on it for a few weeks, and it'll stay somewhat flat. So then on this side here, I marked out, I held it up here with some magnets, like so, to mark out. Then I traced it on the inside around the edges, and then measured my offsets on there so that I knew how big it is. So I'll cut this out to the actual size, and then mark it out, and then add my offsets on it, and then cut and bend it. And then for the hinges, what I did here is behind it there's a piece of 10 gauge to get a spacer off the tubing here, and then this is just a hinge from McMaster Carr that's just tack welded in. That's what these were for. I drilled holes in it to spot weld it in, so I can finish that up. And then so this door will swing open this way, obviously the other one too, and then this one folds down so that you can access it, and then this one will also fold down here, and I'll use cables or something to hold the door open so it's not just laying down all the way. But that gives me another flat spot, because you never can have enough flat spots. So between the flat spot up here, flat spots on the doors, and then all this additional storage that I never had before. So I'll get the door started and then show that next. Okay, so I got these 3 doors built, and then the quick latch from Amazon here that flips down. So each one of these pops open, and this one swings out. So then what I did was I just got this cable here, just some 16th inch stainless steel cable here that I'll put from up here, from here to here and here to here, to hold these up so that the weight's not on them. Give them a little strength if stuff probably gets sat on them. Same thing I'll do on this one here. And then for this big door, because I'm not always going to open it while I'm sitting flat, so it may want to shut on you. And then because the tube that the hinge is mounted here is tapered, so the door always wants to swing right there. So I spot these gas struts here. So this strut's going to get mounted something up here like this. I'll figure out exactly where I need it to go to keep it. I'll probably make it so it counter swings backwards, so it actually pushes the door and helps keep it shut. So that, and then I found these little lights on Amazon. They're pretty, you know, they weren't that expensive, a couple bucks a piece. So what I end up doing too with these is I make a bracket, and I end up mounting in here. I'll probably put 2 on this one here, because I'm gonna put a shelf through here. You can see I kind of started continuing to box this one in here, and then I'll end up putting a light up inside of here so you can see, and then one up in here. So that way I got a lot of light in there for at night. So that's where I'm at, and you can kind of see this piece got boxed in here. So, and then I'm going to put a shelf across here too that can be taken in and out if I want to, just so that I have the ability to put like tools down below it, and then whatever across the top, or 2 layers of tools or whatever I need to put in here. But that way it's not stacked all the way to the top, and then when you open the door, everything falls out. So right now, so next is I'm gonna finish boxing all this in right here. So I still bring this up through here and then across, tie into that piece that's there, and then I'll have these then I'll have that, and then I can get this piece bent and start on the next. So that's where I'm at. All right, so on these doors here, I added my cables on either side here. And then this one kind of goes in the middle of the door here instead of out here, because when I tested it out here, when it folded, it ended up getting kind of pinched in this corner here. So by kind of running at an angle, it allows it to just fold up inside and miss that. And then what I did was I just took a piece of heat shrink tubing on each end where it was spliced on the end, so that you didn't get that little fray on the end to where it would hit you. And so these tabs are just a little tab like this, and I cut one, put it on each side here for these two doors, for this door and then for this door as well on here. So now I got the cables on either side, so it has some strength, so obviously stuff will probably eventually get set on top of it. So then on this front door here, what I did was it pops open before I just swing open. What I did was I put a little gas strut on there that pushes it open and will hold it open. So even if you're parked crooked or whatnot, you don't have to worry about the door hitting you when you open it. Plus what it does is, the way I made it, is it actually over centers and goes back the other way, so it actually pulls the door shut. So it's not wanting to fall open at all, push against itself or anything. So, and then what I did is on each one of these boxes here, I cut this little bracket right here, like this. It's simple, and put two nutserts in it. And what it does is it houses this little light I picked up on Amazon. So I'll be putting them in each one. You can kind of see one of them. I mounted one right here. So what I'll do is I'll wire those into a switch in the cabs so I can turn them on. But then that'll light up all the boxes. So you can see the one here on this box. And then on this box up here, I added two. I got one up top and then one towards the bottom, because I'm probably going to put a shelf across here, so that way I have one above the shelf and one below the shelf. So that's where I got on those. So, oh, and then I brought these pieces up. I filled these pieces up to the top, boxed them in. So now each one of those is filled in. So they're separate compartments that'll weld in once I put the top piece on. Put this piece in, and then I put a grommet right here that'll cut a hole through and pass through the wires to power the lights. And then I'm also going to redo this because I never actually wired up for my fridge. So I'll come through here, I'll secure it across the top here, and then somewhere in this area where when I get this box in here, I'll cut a hole through the side and I'll mount that plug on it, so that when I run my fridge in the back, I got an easy spot to plug it in. So I'll make it so that it ties in right in this area. So that's what I got going next. Finish up the wiring, and then this side is going to be ready to bend and put the top on. So I'll probably wait on that until I get the other side built so I can go get both of them bent at the same time. So I'll probably work on some of the bracing I need to put in on this floor and then start on the other side. So here's the bracing across the floor I put in. That'll go across the back here. So this one here, it also doubles as kind of a top bracket to help hold the fuel tank in. So there's actually a little clearance underneath there, and it's a pretty tight fit, so it hasn't really moved before. But then it's welded in, and I got bolts on each side to one of the bolts where the factory bed actually mounted down. Then I put a second one up here to kind of roughly break it into thirds, but that one was actually spaced. You can see the holes that are drilled in there with a nut weld on the bottom. And what those are for is, like, these two here are for the mounts for tying in my fridge when I mount that. Then this one and this one will hold in my box for my cooking supplies, my little cook box I made. And then these two here will then turn around and double for the mount that will hold the spare tire when I'm doing like day trips. I'll just set it right in there instead of putting it on the tire carrier that I'm going to build on the back, so I can keep it down low. And then I also added these little tabs right here all the way along, and I put them all the way around so they'll hold the wiring as I go through to all these lights here. And then what I did is I got the hole drilled up there with a grommet placed in it that all the wires will pass through. And then I got the two up in this piece up here, one here, one here. So this one will be for the fridge wiring, and then this one will just be for the lights coming along. So I think this side, other than the main piece that's got to be bent to put up there, is pretty much done. So before I weld that top piece on and get everything painted. So now I'm gonna flip the truck around and start on the other side. All right, so I haven't really filmed too much working on this side because it's basically the opposite of the other side, and I still got a little bit more to do on here. The big difference is right here on the filler neck for the fuel tank. You can see, since with the Bronco 2 tank, you can see I have it coming up here, and hopefully the camera picks it up. I got a hose, and then to make this 90-degree turn right here, it's actually just 2-inch tubing that I've welded together, and then I put a little bead on there to create a clamp. It's worked pretty well in the past, so that's my old piece. And then what I did was I picked up just this piece of 2-inch hose off of Amazon, this Gates tube. And that's actually what that bottom piece is on there. It's cut down. So what I'll do is I'll cut this one down, shorten it to fit, and then I'm just putting, this is the stock gas filler right here. So this will go in there through the back side actually. But then that'll become the filler. And then my gas cap will go through here. Then this hole up at the top there is for my air chuck that'll fit through there. So I actually thread this back half into the back, then this will stick out the front. So that'll be where I can air up my tires from. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down and get that installed. And then I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so there's the gas filler put in. So just take that off like normal. So, and then I got my air chuck kind of set up in there as well. And then all of that fits, it's back behind. So it shouldn't get hurt, it should be protected. Stop. Throw your ball in a second. And then underneath, it comes down through here, makes that 90, and then goes in the Bronco 2 tank. So that's partly why I have this at the height I do, is to make sure I can get that filler neck through there. So that's it. And then, as you can see, I didn't show it the same as the other side, but I got the 3 doors on this side. I still need to put in all the tabs for wiring. I've got like the light ones, same size, all the reverse as the other side. And then on that side, I kind of got the piece set on there that I got bent to go across there. So once I finish up this side, then I'll start putting those on, and then probably the next thing I show is putting those on. So you ready to go throw a ball? Where's your ball? One thing I forgot to mention is, since this is the stock Ranger piece right here that came on my truck, on the stock ones, they got that like 1-inch hose that runs down the middle inside the tank, and then the outer piece. And I am not running that inner hose. I never, once I put the Bronco 2 tank in, I never have ran it since. I just basically took it off, and I've never had any problems. Once I got the filler neck high enough, when I originally did this and I had the bed, I cut my hole too far low, and then this was kind of flat running it in. So we'll see if this has enough fall and make sure it all runs. I think it'll work fine, but we'll have to double check that. But I've never had a problem once I got the angles right on that without having that hose on the inside. So just something to think about. Oh, and then on these, with the filler neck piece on the back, I installed nut certs on the back, so there's not a bolt I have to get to on the back, so I can just unthread those if I ever need to take it out. So now I got the driver's side caught up to where I had the passenger side pretty much. I'm just missing that tube. I'll get that bent here eventually up to the top. It's kind of easier to work with it out of the way for now. But then I took some steel down. I had a local shop put a 90-degree bend in it right here. Since my brake's not long enough to do that, it's 16 gauge. Probably should have gone really 18 or 20 on this whole thing, but I did it all in 16, except the doors are 18. So it's probably a little heavier than it needs to be. So now I just need to take and get this up there. I need to notch it for up at the front, right about right there where there's a little step in the bed I have in there. And then just slowly get this piece cut in. And what I'm gonna do is have it just kind of sit right across the top of the center of this tube all the way down. I'll have to notch it around here, weld it back in. But so next is get this piece in there. All these boxes I just brushed in some white primer for right now. Eventually it'll get painted. Once I get this fitted, I'll kind of mark out the spots that I'm gonna put some tack welds to keep no paint from going, but then I can put some paint on the inside of this too, make it a little easier to access it before I put it all together. So let me get this piece cut and trimmed and in place, and then go from there. All right, so now both sides have been welded on, and they're in place. So next is to start painting the inside of the boxes, get them all painted up so they're ready. Then the outside panel, gotta get these plates bolted down, and probably next thing I'll probably really show you some add gussets in these corners, mostly so that they're a tie down for when I strap stuff down. And then I'm gonna probably put one here with a hole in it so I can have a tie down point, one on this side too. Then I had one here before and I used that a bunch to tie stuff down. So next thing I'll probably show you is getting those all cut out and installed, and then get everything painted and getting close here. All right, so the next thing I did was, these are gonna be my tie down points for when I'm camping. Got all kinds of gear in the bed. So like I got 4 of these because they're gonna go on each side on these corners on both sides of the truck. So I got tied down off to the back. And then I'll show you on these ones here, right here. So what happens is, like this one, go the right direction, fits in here, gives me a tie down point right here. And then this one gives me a tie down point right here. And then I got this one up here that matches up right here. That'll go right there. So I'll get those 8 pieces all welded in, and then I think it's ready to start painting this thing. All right, so I got my tie down points here all welded in for when I go to do ratchet straps for holding stuff when I go camping. So I got each side in here, so I got all 5 of them in on each side, all the way down, so that when I'm loaded up, stuff doesn't move. So now it's time to start painting this thing. So I'll get all prepped up, cleaned up, and start painting. Okay, so here's where the bed sits at right now. So I got my old piece of aluminum diamond plate that was on the floor on the last go around of it. I just kind of, basically this piece I didn't have to cut, I just put it back in. And then this right here on the side, that's the plug for my ARB fridge when I mount that. And then all these bolt holes correspond to the piece that's welded in underneath for mounting where eventually my spare tire will go when I leave it in the back for like day trips, and then tying down coolers and whatnot in the back. So that's right there. Then my high lift jack went back in the same spot. I left those mounts there. I left the fire extinguisher mount where it was, put it back up, and then I built these previously for holding up a strap. Probably gonna pick up one of those kinetic straps, and then I can mount that, and then since they're on hose clamps, I can slide them up and down to make it so it fits. So then inside the boxes, I start loading them. Oh, so this side's empty. I put a shelf in there, but then underneath you can see through here on the bottom. This box right here has my spare axle shaft. It holds it, and you access it from the other side. And then this rod can come out, but it keeps these boxes here. I'll pull them out on the other side that I have spare parts in. So it keeps them from sliding. So I have this entire compartment here that I can load pieces in, load stuff into when I go out. And then on this one here, I have my recovery gear. So I can pull out straps if I need it, shackles. I'll end up putting my pulleys and stuff in there too. So I have that box all for that. And then my filler neck for my gas tank, and then my air chuck for coming off of my York compressor. It's now there, and then I can plug that in. And then right here I have all my air up and tire tools, so more plate goes in there. And then behind that I got a glue tread, bottle jack, ratchet that fits my tires. Then this piece goes on top of here when I need an extension, and then the axle sits inside there, and actually I can go either way with it if I need on a lower link or whichever way. And then this is a piece I made that goes on my high lift that holds it. Actually, I'll show it right here. So it goes one of 2 ways. I can go this way with it, so if I need it farther away, or you can flip it around, and then it locks on both ways so it does not slide. So I have that piece so it's easy accessible, and then just a regular air hose, air chuck. So I keep all my air up stuff right there since I can plug it in right there. Then as you come around to the other side here, I have this compartment completely empty still. I have this compartment completely empty. You see the wiring I got in there that feeds my fridge, and then I 3D printed this piece here. So I'm just waiting on some VHB tape to come through here. I'll put that on there, and then this will go over the top of it and secure it to help protect those wires. So we'll see how that holds up. And then up here, this is mainly the one that's uploaded. So obviously you can see it's crammed packed full of stuff. It's like I got spare parts, I got jumper cables, I got some brake cleaner, some rags, all my electrical stuff, and then these are all my sockets right here. So these are all on, look, these are all on trays that I made. So they all stack in and out, and nice pink, so they're easy to see, and all the pink sockets are all the metric stuff. So then I got spare parts and tools and stuff there. And then, so to access these, all you do is you just pull these 2 pins out, and then this pops out of here, and then these slide out. So these are trays that I made. So I can pull out, you know, I got spare U-bolts, I got some spare airline, fuel hose, my short side shaft, spare Johnny joint for the front end, some serpentine belts, different hoses in there, some different sockets for the second one that's down here too. So got some extra rags, a couple of tools, and some other parts, Heims, a hub, different things in here. So that kind of all goes in there. Those are just cut and bent on off the plasma, so they're just go in there. So then you push those back in, and then as you can see, these go in here. And I just got to bolt down this tray, and it will be ready to go. So that holds all this stuff in right here, and keeps all my tools in here. So that's where it's at right now. Probably make this part 2, and then probably a part 3. Come out with a tire carrier. I'm gonna put across here a tailgate, and then all the lighting and a few of the other accessories. So anyway, if you got any questions, let me know. That's where we're at now. Thanks.